My levels are tested. Oh, good Lord.
I'm testing real good.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Popcorn Dogs. We're part of the Tokyo Beat Podcast Network. This episode will not feature spoilers past Season 1 of House of the Dragon, but we will probably talk about Game of Thrones, which is technically 172 years after House of the Dragon. So, spoilers for Game of Thrones and the first season, but there are multiple books that have said how House of the Dragon will end, and even much past that, and it's fucking good.
I still can't remember how it ends, because I know it's like season 3, episode 4. I know what scene people are referencing when they're like, "Oh yeah, Joffrey talks about how
He spoils something."
Yeah, I don't remember what it is.
Well, he's just trying to intimidate Marjorie, or not even intimidate. He's trying to regale her with his historical knowledge. And he says this person was something by this person. And that's all it is. Carly is watching Game of Thrones for the first time, and that she got spoiled. But it's also, it's not the destination, it's the journey. Yeah. And trust me, there is some big fucking shit that's going to happen in the next 3 seasons. I am pumped. We're talking about House of the Dragon. I'm Brad.
And I'm Tyler.
And we're both nursing hangovers today. So we're cracking open a special beer because I said fuck it.
Because I said fuck it.
This is a 2020 Bourbon County oatmeal stout aged in bourbon barrels with coffee and maple syrup.
Hell yeah.
Tyler, what's your experience with George R.R. Martin and the Game of Thrones stuff?
I started watching Game of Thrones at season 3.
Okay.
And I was a week-to-week watcher back then. And then I watched every episode every Sunday and talked about it all week like everybody. I was obsessed. I haven't read any of the books. I've read a good chunk of the first book, but I haven't read the books.
Yeah.
And I know nothing about
Jon Snow. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
He was my favorite character in the show for the longest time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. The Game of Thrones, we're watching it for Carly's first time, and just watching it again, I'm like, this show is fucking good.
Season 3 and 4 is just like, ooh.
Even the seasons where it's starting to like fall away, which is season 5, is when I remember there being issues. Like when they go down to Dorne and Jaime has his buddy cop film.
Yeah.
Instead of his character's moral journey, debating his life choices, because in the books it's very different. Jaime doesn't go down to Dorne, and the books are way better. So yeah, I mean, speaking of Game of Thrones, the last season of that show was so bad.
It was horrible.
It actually just erased it from people, like erased the whole series from people's collective memories for like years.
It's incredible to me that you live like in the zeitgeist. Like you're at the forefront of popular culture for, a better part of like a decade, right?
It was the bigged show. It was HBO Max's like biggest show forever.
And just the content was amazing. I had never seen anything like it. The storytelling was so perfect with the way they brought characters in and characters left. The mystery of what was going to happen and the slow unravel of, the 7 kingdoms. You knew at the end you're going to get some big battle, but it was like, damn. Yeah. The politics on the way there was fantastic. And then the fact that everybody loved it, and then you fuck up the last season so hard, no one is even willing to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, the problem is George R.R. Martin is the slowest fucking author in the world. Yeah. And I used to care and I used to be concerned, and it's been so long I don't even think about it. I think it's been like 12 years since Dance with the Dragons came out. Dance with Dragons. And that's fucking forever. I used to be on Reddit message boards in like 2013. I was like, dude, I have a feeling it's coming out in a couple months. And I'd just be like sharing theories with my buddies.
Yeah.
And it never came, and it never came. And then he would make a promise like, if it's not out next year, you can lock me up in a cabin. I'm not doing anything else. And he just always keeps doing other things. And George R. Martin, as I think Neil Gaiman famously said, he is not your bitch. And George R. Martin can do what he wants. The problem is we are all captivated and wanting to know how Game of Thrones was going to end. And the 2 show creators, David Benioff and Dan Weiss.
Fuck both those guys.
man, they were good at running the show initially. They were
Yeah.
checked out though. Even HBO Max said, we don't want it to end with season 8. Like, there's more. You have time. We'll give you money. Like, keep the show going. And they want it out.
Yeah.
Even the last season, they did like less episodes.
Yeah, they should have handed the show off. I don't understand the going down with the ship. That show, I'm not a fan when you stretch a show so that, like The Walking Dead, for instance.
Yeah.
Felt like that could have died a while ago, but they wanted to keep the show running. I don't agree with that. But when there's a good story to tell and everybody is on board, for the most part, I don't know behind the scenes what the actors were feeling, because that's a big commitment for a lot of those like main stars. But when most everybody is on board to keep the story going and the story still has story to tell, let it ride. And looking at where Game of Thrones ended, if they would have had 2-3 more full-length seasons to tell that story, it would have been phenomenal.
I don't think the story beats were bad. I think it was they didn't take the time or develop it. And I mean, the right, like, there was more story written that they skipped, like Jaime in the Riverlands, and they just chose. They took. I mean, Game of Thrones is great because it is smart, subversive, a unique take on fantasy, where characters, if they feel really well written and well thought out, and it's a rich story. It's a rich story, and the fact that they had more they could have used, and they started like doing cheap what they thought would be popular. They started being the antithesis of what made the show great, and that like. No, Jaime and Bronn should go though to Dorne. That'd be fun. It's like, no, that's not his character's arc. You can't. Yeah. And they, man, if you're on Greyjoy was the biggest tragedy, because he is the most epic, heavy metal, old gods fucking kill you, rape you, strap his brother to the front of a ship. Like, he's a crazy motherfucker, and they made him a dick joke, and it was bad.
Yeah.
So Game of Thrones was crashed spectacularly, so bad that they had a Star Wars trilogy that they were going to be able to make. They lost a Star Wars trilogy. They did so bad.
Yeah. And that just like, I wonder if they were just kind of blindsided by, or if they were kind of blind by success, that they figured they could get away with murder at that point, because they introduced fast travel to the show. And that was the big thing for me. Especially going into like the 6th season, 7th season.
It's like they start off like a little bit, and it's like some of it's okay. I'm like, it takes 2 months to go from Winterfell to King's Landing. I understand that. There will be time jumps, but
in between episodes, that's fine. But you have like Arya and the Hound, their whole travel, right?
Yeah.
That took what, a season?
That was a great. Those two, Arya, amazing character, and. She gets to the House of Black and White, and they kind of ruin that too. Because, man, there's so much better things they could have done. I remember when they had like the 8 most popular characters go north of the wall to kidnap a zombie.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And I was just livid. And then they're like, Gendry, you're the fastest. You need to run to get dragons or something.
Yeah, run back to Winterfell or something.
I don't know what he did. And Daenerys comes up there, like, that was just so obviously, they thought it would be an easy, fun idea, and it just wasn't logical. Logic went out the window. But, yeah, so I've read all the books. I have the cookbook. I have the map books. I have everything associated with A Song of Ice and Fire, which is what it's really called. And when I saw House of the Dragon was coming, my first thought was, you're going to have to do a lot of work to get me back.
My first thought was, I'm ready to get hurt again.
You were ready for it.
I am ready.
It's 200 years before Game of Thrones. And so you're not going to have characters you recognize. You'll have names, the Baratheons, Lannisters. You can bet the Winterfell people will be like hard-headed, proud dickheads, probably. And so there's a familiarity that you're going to get. And I remember the casting of Matt Smith as Daemon Targaryen. Seeing Doctor Who with that long white wig, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was a little skeptical.
Yeah.
I was almost the same way, like when I saw Henry Cavill in the first Witcher screen test, where it's a very clear wig and he just like takes a swig of a potion.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, that wig, it looks weird.
Yeah. Love the show, though.
He turned out to be an excellent casting.
Yeah.
Because who knew Doctor Who can actually act?
Well, he's great as Doctor Who, but the thing that House of the Dragon does, it is created by George R. R. Martin and Ryan Condal. Ryan was, I believe, also associated with the previous show, but I'm sure that there was a lot of agreements that we're not going to fuck up the writing. We're going to stick to the books because clearly the books are working. And they even start doing like a major time jump at the beginning and setting up the issue is Targaryen. I mean, it's royal lineage is really what's at the heart of almost all the problems in Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. You play the Game of Thrones, and you're probably going to commit incest and kill someone. Is what's going to happen.
You can expect it.
You can expect it, and this show is no different. Incest is bad unless it's like, well, Rhaenyra and Daemon. We like those two. That's cute.
Yeah, it's incredible how Game of Thrones had and like office spaces, like accounting firms were talking about incest, like at the water cooler. Like that's how popular this show was. People were just like, yeah, so he fucked his aunt or they fucked his niece and it was fine.
Because the same thing happens with Jon and Daenerys, because major spoilers for Game of Thrones, Daenerys is Jon's aunt.
Yeah, and when they banged in the show, I was like, way to go, Jon. Yay, my two favorite characters getting together.
Jon, I don't want it.
I don't want it.
You did it. Whatever. Jon turned into a ding-dong. He was great.
Yeah, he was great until the writers forgot how to write him.
But we're introduced to the problem of lineage, and there was a precedent set by Viserys's grandpa. I think it was Jaehaerys the Conciliator. And the problem is there was not a clear successor. Rhaenys would have the better claim because she was like a direct daughter of Jaehaerys. I believe it's Jaehaerys. If I'm getting it wrong, forgive me. Just sub-heiress or blood-heiress. It's some guy. It's some old guy.
You don't have enough R's in there. That's your problem.
One thing I've always liked is George R. R. Martin pronounces Daenerys, Viserys. And but the show, Daenerys Viserys, so there's a king, Aenys, Aenys, but according to the show's pronunciation, it'd be Aenys Targaryen. Well, if it isn't old King Aenys,
I could smell you coming from a mile away.
It was one time in college, dude. But yeah, and Viserys, though, he is like a grandson of like a third child or something. He had less of a that's establishing how claims would be handled, who would be next in line, succession.
The only reason he's up there is because he is a male born within throwing distance in the family tree.
For some reason, men are just threatened. They're like, if we don't follow the rule that men are in charge, we are all going to die.
Yeah.
And it's like, women can handle it, I think.
And the women in this show, they do handle it. I feel like they are both pretty bad bitches.
Yeah, and Rhaenys, from what we see of her, would have been great. She handles herself very well, and she knows how to tactfully navigate many situations. I thought Rhaenys was really well done. So Viserys is our boy, Paddy Considine. I know him mostly from Edgar Wright projects like Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was so psyched to see him casted in this, and oh my god, he doesn't knock it out of the park. He knocks it into the next solar system.
He's so good.
That was one of the best performances I saw last year.
Something that this show does different than Game of Thrones is Game of Thrones is written from character perspectives, and it's done like you're on the journey with Arya for a chapter. You're in her mind. The way that House of the Dragon, which is actually derived from like 3 or 4 different books, but they're all like history books. So it's a King Viserys was offered the hand of this person. He chose not to. They don't go into like a lot of the moments. It just says something big happened there, and we don't know why. Larys Clubfoot might have been involved, and they're very vague. But what the show can do is flesh them out. Viserys is a little bit more of a ding dong in the books, in that, I mean, the reason that the war, the dance of the dragons, is I believe what the war is ultimately going to be called, but the reason that it all happens is because Viserys is super wishy-washy, and he's like, Rhaenyra's got it, and he doesn't like put his foot down and just handle situations properly, because he'd rather just have everyone get along instead of make a tough decision. And he makes a lot of bad decisions, but what Paddy is able to bring to the role is humanity, and you want him to succeed so much because he's just a good dude who just wants the best for his family.
Yeah, and I feel like what really like came out of his performance was exactly what you said. He's a good dude who wants the best for his family, but he's not a good king. He doesn't have that intangible aspect that makes a good king a good king. This is a good he's a good leader. He's just not, he doesn't have that cutthroat ability to be king.
And it's always odd being a peacetime ruler. He doesn't have any great battles. And he brings it up, even his character. He's like, well, they say that I was a good king. I mean, there wasn't a war when he was alive.
Yeah.
But no, he made a lot of bad decisions, but I think he was a good person, which is different than being a good king. He just made stupid moves. Like, yes, she is 12. It is the best decision, and just deal with it for like 10 years, and then you can marry, like, then you can consummate the marriage or whatever, and it will be better for the realm. And nope. But that goes to Otto Hightower. But so we have Paddy Considine, and we have as Prince Daemon Targaryen, Viserys' little brother, we have Matt Smith, who is fucking good. He's good.
That guy, he's good.
He is dangerous.
Yeah.
That's a word that I would just immediately put to that character.
Yeah. And immediately, like, he kind of felt like a little bit like an anti-hero. Maybe because I knew the casting of Matt Smith probably gave him a little bit of plot armor in my mind for the first season. I thought it was really unlike
Sean Bean.
I know, but I was like, I don't think they're going to kill him off. So then at the beginning, when he's kind of a dickhead, I was like, well, I think he's got this whole like anti-hero arc coming up, or hopefully he gets better. But very quickly, I identified him as my favorite character.
I will say that there is a giant question mark about Daemon in the books that will get answered in the show, and I'm excited.
I can't wait.
No, Daemon's character only gets more to it, but yeah. Matt Smith is great. Viserys' little brother, Daemon, he's upset because he should be next in line. By all accounts, Rhaenyra's a woman, a girl, a child, but that's not how succession has worked. And the problem is Daemon is a hothead, and he like just goes to brothels, and he doesn't go ever see his wife. He's rules with an iron fist when he's in the City Watch. And that's okay.
And when we pick up in episode 1, counting the time jumps, we're like 16 years, right, from the end of season 1. It covers like a 16-year or 20-year span, right?
I think it's even like 25.
Yeah. So he's a young man.
Say he's like 20, probably.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
When Viserys is like, yo, the City Watch needs to get this city under control. Like, so you got like a guy who's in his early 20s who's like, no one can really challenge him because he's royalty, so he's probably won every fight he's ever been in.
Yeah.
And then he also has
he proves
power.
it, though. He proves it.
He's not a wimp. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, he's not used to losing or not used to not getting what he wants.
He's got the big Daemon energy.
He's got big D energy.
He's got big D energy. And he does do like questionable things like, oh, I'm going to take my niece into a brothel, and very much just do that to get the rumors swirling that she lost her maidenhead and maybe she would get betrothed to him. because she's sullied, and she's tarnished now. And that's what he was up to. He was trying to make it so she had to marry him. And so he does things like that. But then he like picks up the crown and puts it on Viserys' head. And he just like, he'll always stand up for his family no matter what. And I'm like, that's really good. I like this guy. He's just really captivating. He's fun to watch.
I am curious if Game of Thrones did not happen first, and this was our first entry into the world of George R.R. Martin's fantasy wonderland.
Yeah.
If we would like Daemon as much as we do.
Well, but one thing that's so great about his writing is that the characters are not good or bad. They are just characters. They're individuals that are. There's morally gray situations, and it's exciting because they are kind of telegraphed as like Rhaenyra is our hero, she's the good person, but there's a number of reasons, and like you could also argue that Alicent and maybe the High Towers are right. Rhaenyra's kids are bastards, clearly bastards, and this is a problem. And the fact that Viserys is just like, nope, not talking about it,
don't want to hear it.
And it makes him look foolish. It makes him look like weak, and that's not good.
You don't want that when you're king.
You don't want that from.
That's gonna be real. That's a bad look.
That's Tywin Lannister's whole character background. Is his father just got walked all over and treated like garbage by all of the people, and he let it happen. And Tywin was upset.
Tywin is one of the most badass characters that's ever existed. That dude fucking rocked in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, sends Joffrey to bed without his food.
Yeah.
We could have it arranged for you to be carried. And I was like, oh, dude, I am not tired.
Or when he's like fucking, when they're going to war and he's talking to Jaime while he's skinning the deer.
Mm. The symbolism. It's the Baratheon stag. And then he's doing wolf pelts, too, at another point. And I'm like, all right. There's even one where he's cleaning fish.
That's a deleted scene.
Yep.
I found that on YouTube.
With Maester Pycelle.
That one scene, I'm glad they cut that scene out. It seemed a little too in your face about it.
Yeah. Even the background characters are just fun and interesting.
Yeah.
There's a number of background characters in this season 1 that I know are going to be the main character of season 3. And there's just one shot of this one person in this one place, and I was like, that's the person. Uh-oh. Yep. It's so good. Our Rhaenyra Targaryen, played by 2 actresses, both phenomenal. If anything, I think the major crime of the time jump is Millie Alcock was a really awesome young Rhaenyra.
Yep.
And so is Emma Darcy, however you want to say her name. And she's phenomenal as the old one. But there was a number of younger actors that I was like, that's a shame. I could have had more time with that actress.
Yeah. I've never been a huge fan of multiple time jumps or just time jumps and for that matter, because I usually if I like the performer, it's sad to see him go. Mm-hmm. But they did a really good job, especially with Alicent and Rhaenyra, to cast somebody that literally looks like you just casted like their older sibling. Mm-hmm. They nailed that shit. That is incredible to me that they found not only 4 really good actresses, but 4 really good actresses that they could actually make look feasible for the show. Because it's always weird when you have a character change and it's like, oh yeah, this was me 10 years ago. And it's like, that is not, there's no way.
It's just like, oh, but Matt Smith, he's fine. We're going to keep Matt Smith.
Yeah. And he doesn't age. There's no indication of those 20 years. His hair's already gray, but there's no wrinkles. There's no nothing. The man is a vampire.
The only thing that was inaccurate about the portrayal of the Targaryens is they should have purple eyes. In the books, they do have purple eyes.
That would have been so much more. Well, they tried that with Daenerys.
It would have been distracting, and it's the same. Like they also originally had Daenerys's eyebrows bleached white.
Yeah,
and they're like, we need to see those caterpillars moving.
Yeah. Oh yeah, when her face is that expressive. Damn, that was good.
She does all of her acting with her eyebrows.
Yeah. They actually talked, I think I saw an interview with Emilia Clarke who was like, yeah, we tried the contacts, the purple ones in a screen test, and they just hurt the fuck out of her eyes. So they were like, fuck it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you have John Rhys Davies playing Gimli, and his skin is getting ripped off because he's allergic to the latex. And he had like giant like things around his face that were just like his skin ripped off for like the couple years they were filming Lord of the Rings.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
And that's why he like didn't like to go out with the cast often, because he was embarrassed by it. Yeah, there's a lot
That's so sad.
It's also just like Gimli's even more badass.
Yeah.
But so we have those two playing Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra is our hero, not specifically, but pretty much. She's one of the main characters anyways. And she is next in line at the end of the first episode. She is selected because Daemon's crazy and there's no male heir. And the first episode goes into some hardcore childbirth, and it's insane.
Yeah. That juxtaposition with the games, with Daemon going up against Kristen Cole, was such good editing.
Yep.
And I went back and rewatched I ended up rewatching the first episode with some friends, so that one sticks out a little bit more in my mind.
Yeah.
The second time around, just as enthralled as the first time, which is hard to do for me after I've seen an episode. Like the shine kind of wears off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, I'm running through the plays. It's still fun to watch, but you don't get that excitement from the first time you watched it. And somehow that episode kind of recaptured that, which is rare for me to get into an episode I've seen already again.
You learn more when you rewatch it after you know where characters wind up to. And you can see Viserys' character is just haunted by his wife who passes away in childbirth. He is haunted by her memory, and that was his true love, and he's just trying to pick up the pieces after that. But you mentioned the games. If you go back to season 1 of Game of Thrones, they did not have the budget. Nope. And Robert Baratheon's like tourney looks like a bad Renaissance fair.
Yeah, there's like 7 people there.
Yeah. And this one in House of the Dragon, fucking awesome. Big. And the dragon budget is huge.
Well, yeah, and it's like HBO, when they're on, they are fucking on.
They're on right now.
Yeah, they are switched on.
Yeah.
They could not between White Lotus, The Last of Us, and House of Dragon, they are just on all fronts knocking it out of the park.
Mm-hmm. And then James Gunn has announced multiple TV shows that are coming to HBO Max, including Green Lantern done in the style of like True Detective is what he said.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm in.
And we're going to probably get more Peacemaker.
Yeah, I believe Peacemaker. Well, it's going to be in the new Waller series, which I think Peacemaker characters are moving into that, is my understanding.
They're doing a Waller series?
James Gunn announced a whole like first slate of DC stuff.
No shit.
Yeah. I talked with Dylan about it very drunk yesterday, and he was initially just like, I hate it, it was stupid. And then we talked for like 10 minutes about how great it is. But yes, Rhaenyra, she's a young girl, and she's in a weird situation, but she's been picked to be the ruler. And then we're introduced to some of the other major players. The Hightowers will be our villains for this show.
Who plays Otto? What's his name?
Otto Hightower is Rhys Ifans.
I fucking love that dude.
He's dastardly. He seems like he's got such a subtle cruelty inside of him.
Well, in my mind, he is Adrian from Little Nicky. I grew up watching that movie.
Said Little Nicky because that's where I know him from too.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that actor though. He's been in a lot of movies that I grew up watching that I didn't even realize he was in.
Yeah, and he's great. He was Kurt Connors in The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Fine-ish Spider-Man movie.
He was the kicker in The Replacements with Keanu Reeves.
Yep, smoking the cigs.
Yep.
Just always drunk.
Betting on games.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. And he does a really good job with Otto. Otto is the hand of the king and whispering all of the information that is very much beneficial to his house, to Viserys.
Yep. I had a joke that I'll say again. I think I already told you, but I came up with it when I was watching the first few episodes. In Game of Thrones, we had Littlefinger, and now with House of the Dragon and Otto, we have Middlefinger.
And I don't know what we would call Larys Clubfoot. He kind of fills the role of Littlefinger, but he's more like
Bach. I just call him Bach.
He is a very Bach-looking motherfucker.
He's got a very Weasley face which works for the role, but I feel bad for the guy in real life. Unless they probably church it up in the show.
The strong family is interesting. But we have Otto Hightower. His daughter is Allison Hightower. She is played by...
Is it Allison or Alicent?
Alicent. Emily Carey plays the young one. She's fine. She wasn't my favorite. Olivia Cooke is the older one, and I think she's fantastic.
I think she is all around, outside of the series, the best performance in the show.
That's a tall order.
She's killing. She killed it at the end of it.
She does kill it, but there's so many people that are killing it.
I just really enjoy her performance.
Yeah.
It's not to discredit any of the other performers, but she is just on another level in my book.
Part of that is always, what are you given to work with? And when you have such amazing scenes, it's easier to come off looking great. Like Nick Offerman and that other fella in The Last of Us episode 3.
Jeez.
I mean, the writing was so locked in and solid that they didn't have to do much to be one of the greatest episodes ever. They still delivered, but when you have such great writing, they could have just coasted through a lot of that, and it still would have been great because the writing was so solid. But yeah, Alicent in the books, she is not portrayed as generously as they make her seem more evil in the books. And in the show, they're very good at showing her being conflicted and pulled different directions. Instead of the books make it seem like she was aware that they were going to put her son on the throne right away, and they made it a surprise in the show. And there's just a number of things where she was trying to have Rhaenyra's the queen, we're not doing this, and her dad just kept saying, we should do it.
Yeah.
You should go bang that man. His wife died. Go play with his toys with him. Dad, I'm 13. I don't care.
Yeah.
Go to his room. Yeah. She's great. Something that they did with the show, which is different than the books, are the Valyrians.
What did they do? Well,
they're not black in the books.
Oh.
Nope. And I think that's a great change. That's a good change because they do need to have black actors and some other variety in the show. But it makes the bastards status just way more obvious too when
which I guess you kind of need to telegraph to the audience too.
Well, I think it might make it too obvious almost because just having a bunch of black-haired kids come out of two white-haired people is enough. And the Targaryens...
That's all we needed in season 1 of Game of Thrones is seeing Bean looking down at a book and going, black of hair.
Black of hair.
Black of hair.
And he's like, oh,
no.
And he still doesn't get it. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I can't even read.
I'll be dead soon.
This is not going to end well for me. But I think the Valyrians are fantastic. The sea snake, Corlys. My man, you have no idea about Corlys.
I have no idea. You have said that many a time now.
Corlys, they were considering giving him a whole spin-off show of his young life.
It was one of the 3
that
they pitched to HBO after Game of Thrones.
Because the sea snake essentially created his own kingdom, his own power, his own dynasty, just by being such a badass captain. He's just so good at sailing around the world and making the right decisions. And he is obsessed with his name. He's obsessed with getting more power. And that's ultimately not a good thing for the Valyrians. But he's married to Rhaenys Targaryen, and she is fantastic. The actress for Rhaenys, I forget her name. She is... Where are you, Rhaenys? I forget her name. She's great.
She's great.
Yeah, we don't need to... Eve Best. But so we have the Valyrians, and Viserys, his wife dies. Who's he going to marry? The Valyrians say, this is a perfect match. It'll also help settle the problems with the previous council that decided succession. Rhaenys' descendant, Viserys' descendant, you should, like, Viserys, you should get together and it will just unify the realm and make things safer. And it would. It was the smartest, best choice.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it.
It literally would have fixed almost all the problems.
There's a number of things that he could have done that would have fixed the problems. But yes, like we mentioned, Otto is just pimping out his daughter hard.
Yeah.
Not great.
She fixes his toy, his sculpture. How is anybody supposed to compete with that?
I'm fix your toy. I needed 2 batteries.
A couple double A's.
Thank you. And yeah, we get a time jump pretty quick then after that first episode.
I think it's after the second or the...
Because there's kids right away almost. Like, because Alicent's like, boo, boo. And between every episode, essentially a kid has happened somewhere.
Well, I think it's after the first or the second episode, Aegon shows up.
Yep. And
also, please, for confusion, if you're running a country, just something you should note.
This is Aegon the 25th.
Yes, put a number on that bitch, or don't name all your fucking kids the same way. Well, same name.
That is a way to curry favor with the common folk, with the king.
Oh, shit, I didn't even think about that. You're right.
Yep, this is named after Aegon the Conqueror, the greatest, like, king who, like, wasn't a great king, but he conquered and unified Westeros. And that's why Rhaenyra is like, this is our son Aegon. And that's caused a lot of problems at the end because Viserys says Aegon, like, should be king or something like that at the end. And he's talking about Rhaenyra's Aegon, but Alicent genuinely believes he meant her Aegon, and that's why she's willing to put her neck out there. A lot of not great things is going to happen to everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, fucking Aemond already lost an eye.
Oh, Aemond.
We'll get there.
No, we can. Alicent has kids. The first one is Aegon.
Then Aemond.
Aegon, in one of the episodes, is jerking off in the window that Tommen Baratheon jumps from, which is, I love that he's standing there.
Is it the same window? Okay, I thought it was. Yeah. Me and Justin, my brother, he's seen all of Game of Thrones, and nobody else we were watching with has.
Yeah.
So as soon as that scene came on, we both looked at each other like, yo, is that the same window?
Yeah, it is. It's fun. A lot of the sets get reused. And one thing that is trying to fix a disappointment from the Game of Thrones books, the Iron Throne in the books is not a friendly thing.
I saw an artist's rendition, like they talked to George R. R. Martin and he described what it should look like, and it looks terrifying.
It's like 15, 20 feet tall,
and there's like
a mountain of swords.
Yeah, there's like a graveyard of swords leading up to it, and then it's like, doesn't the staircase on it like twist a little bit towards the top?
It does not look like a fun thing.
Yeah, it looks like, and it's known to like, it's almost alive, like it's known to like cut people.
They like to say that.
Yes, which I think is a nice...
It's a cool thing. If you get nicked by the throne and you're bleeding, that means that you're going to be a bad king. Your reign won't last long. I don't know if it's...
I'd be walking up those steps in full plate armor, just like, hold on, guys. Taking me 20 minutes to get to the top.
Dude, just these big books that just talk about all of the Targaryen kings, and there's a reason that they could just do every single king and make a series out of it. I think the next thing they'll do is Aegon the Unworthy, which there's a good story there.
Well, I'm working on I don't know if it's a book, a TV show, what, but I built a world, and I've been working on it for several years, and world building's a lot of fun. But once you get it fleshed out to a point where it's kind of second nature, writing history is super fun.
Because you don't have to do a lot of the legwork of...
It's already done.
Yeah.
And you can make little callbacks. Like, I could say something big happened in this year to this guy. Mm-hmm. And you use that as a benchmark. And then you just write to it. And you can come up with little side stories and little cool shit that happens to people. And because you're writing the history of the world, you don't have to go into, like, descriptive detail like a novel would. It's just like, this guy was king for this many years, and he killed this guy, and there was a big war.
This street is called... Flea Bottom, because of the famous Sir Perkin the Flea, and an event happened over there. But if you just like say, this is Miller's Row, and then you can just, if you want to, in the past, like, oh yes, there's a famous miller who was fucking the queen that lived here or something like that.
It's the backpack strategy of writing. Like Walking Dead, everybody has a backpack. You never know what's in the backpack, but it could be a plot device because anything could be in there. So leaving doors open behind you is the best way to...
As long as you're eventually going somewhere or closing those doors. I just thought of Lost and about how it just fucking...
Okay, so it's not the best way every time.
Hey everyone, it's David Petrangelo, one of your hosts from Remember 64, the podcast that goes on the totally tubular journey through the Nintendo 64's library. Join us as we dive into classics from Nintendo, Rare, and into the early days of polygons and 3D worlds. Yes, we're covering it all from top of the charts down to the dingy basement and everything in between. We may even find a few hidden gems. Ooh, intriguing. Remember 64, only on the Tokyo Beat Network.
Today's show is brought to you by EPOS Gaming Audio, with a comprehensive lineup of both wired and wireless headsets, gaming amplifiers, microphones, and webcams. EPOS has everything you need to experience the power of audio. Like their H6 Pro lineup, which features two versions, an open or closed headset. The closed headset allows you to tap into exceptionally detailed audio and seals out ambient noise, while the open version delivers natural high-fidelity audio with an incredible soundstage. Both headsets include a magnetic detachable microphone and a sleek design that has no wild RGB configurations, just good design. Listeners can save 15% by visiting www.eposaudio.com/gaming, entering code EPOSFRIEND15 at checkout. That is EPOSFRIEND15 at checkout. One character that I thought wasn't great, poorly utilized, Mysaria. That's what I mean, right? You don't even know who I'm talking about.
Well, it's been so long since I've seen the show. Who was that?
Daemon's
wife.
No. Consort?
I don't even remember.
He was banging her.
Yeah. The girl with the accent.
Yep, very much the Shay the funny whore.
Yeah.
Not that specifically. It's more like a mixture of like Varys and Shay, but she runs some brothels and she's able to discover a lot of information. I didn't care for her character too much. We have Kristen Cole, I'm not going to say his nickname. I don't know if they've said it in the show, but it says a little bit about what he does.
Oh yeah, they haven't given him a nickname yet.
Kristen Cole.
What?
I loved him in the first couple episodes.
Yes.
He's cool. He's just a hardworking knight who's started off just in the right place and just proved himself. And he just goes full neckbeard.
Dude, he is simping hard.
Ah, man, what a character that I liked, and then I just nope, you were the worst character. I hate you so much now.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, dude, you had an affair. You can either just move on with your life or you can let it define you for 50 years and just cause a lot of bad stuff to happen.
And he's like, I'll take option B, please.
Yep. There was never a choice.
Yeah.
She took my honor. It's like, you fucked her too, man.
Yeah. It takes two to tango, big dog.
I mean, it takes a sword and a sheath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or a couple swords. Rhaenyra Valerian is cool too.
Honestly, whatever you're into.
Yeah, and I think
couple sheaths.
Here's some
couple sheaths, a sword, and
mad points for Rhaenyra. She just marries her homosexual cousin. She's like, hey, you fuck dudes. I'm going to fuck who I want. It's more political. Let's just be a high-functioning married couple. And they do great.
Yeah.
Mostly. Laenor's a little too out there with his... It's like, oh, I'm going training again. Okay, we know what you're up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he just got a little too comfortable. Because it's like that's the 10-year jump, right?
One of the many jumps.
Yeah.
There's a lot of jumps.
We get that nice... The 10-year jump is where we get rid of the young actresses for Alicent and Rhaenyra's.
And Laenor and all the kids.
All the kids grow up.
Most of the kids get jumps at some point.
I saw a video of Matt Smith behind the scenes for some of the kids' last episodes, and they were all hugging on him, and he was just like, "You guys did fantastic. You guys are all so great." And I'm just like, "This man he's too good. He's too good. He's too good."
He got cut out of The Rise of Skywalker.
What?
He was supposed to be the villain of Rise of Skywalker before J.J. Abrams came in and made it a horrible mess again. It was originally supposed to be called like Duel of the Fates, according to one script, and he would have been
Not Palpatine?
like a son of Palpatine or something, maybe.
That would have been way better.
Would have been way better. Still wouldn't, I mean, and using Duel of the Fates as the title, calling back to episode 1, it would have been better. But Matt Smith shot stuff for the film and it got cut. Completely cut.
Man, fuck Star Wars.
Yeah, but Matt Smith's doing fine.
Yeah.
So we have Kristen Cole played by Fabian Frankel. I've never loved someone and hated him so much.
Yeah.
So quickly.
I'm just I could say, oh man, this guy did an amazing performance. They were fantastic. I'm just going to blanket statement and say everybody is fantastic at acting in the show for the most part. He's no exception.
If he can make me hate him so much, he's doing something right.
Yeah. And it was funny, the people I was watching with, as soon as he came on the screen, someone's like, "Oh, he's too handsome to die." And I was like, yeah, he'll be around for a minute.
Was that your brother? Something
I think it was Devin.
Devin, okay.
He's too handsome to die.
And he is. We have the Strongs. Larys Clubfoot is Matthew Needham. We mentioned him, Bach. His father is Lionel Strong, and his older brother is Harwin Strong. Harwin Strong is the one banging Rhaenyra and having bastards with her. The father, though, Lionel Strong, is the greatest hand of the king, the most honest, good advice, always says the right thing, keeps his head down, just does the right moves. His son kills him.
Yeah. And so Harrenhal eventually falls to the Lannisters.
Yeah.
And Harrenhal is supposed to be cursed. You have more knowledge of the books than me. Is this the event that makes it cursed, or has it got a history beyond that?
No, it was cursed before.
Okay, so it's not the fire that
Lord Harren, famously of Harrenhal.
Yeah.
He built the most impenetrable giant fortress, and it was mostly all I forget what it's made out of. Something that burns, that will melt.
Yeah.
And he got it done, spent it so long doing it, and the day he finishes when Aegon Targaryen showed up with dragons, it's and essentially it's like an oven. Once it heats up in there, it just gets hotter and smoke it's trapped. So you're inside of a giant metal oven once it so that's why it's also just a melted castle from what happened with Aegon, and pretty much everyone that's been given Harrenhal dies mysteriously or something bad happens very quickly. So it is cursed in that sense.
I remember seeing Harrenhal for one of the first times when Arya's there, disguised as a boy.
Yep.
In Game of Thrones.
When Jaqen H'ghar was still a cool, interesting character.
And he had not been in Stranger Things yet.
He was fine in Stranger Things.
I was just so psyched to realize that was him.
I like that actor's look. He's cool. But so we have the Strongs. Larys is going to be around. Larys is cool in a bad way. But
he's a necessary evil for the show.
He very quickly gets Alicent under his clubfoot, we'll say. She just casually mentions that she'd like to have her dad be Hand of the King again. And he's like, okay. And that's the whole conversation. And then he goes and gets his father and brother killed. And Alicent's like, I didn't tell you to do that. It's like, oh, you did. You said you wanted your father back. And
yeah. You didn't need to tell me.
He makes her an accomplice in this murder, and then she is forever stuck. But he's always he's also useful the whole time. So she wants him as a friend. He jerks off to her feet.
That was, I laughed audibly when that happened.
Well, and I read this Reddit post about him, and someone was just speculating. It's like he doesn't even necessarily have a foot fetish. He has a fetish for making the queen subject herself to something so vile and low that's what gets him off.
That's a good theory. I always just
and maybe he also has a club foot, so maybe he just likes feet.
That's what I was thinking. His feet are jacked up and hers aren't, and he's like, yeah, that's what's up.
We have kids. Aegon Targaryen. One of them is played by David Tennant's son.
No shit.
Drinking off out the window is another Doctor Who's related actor.
David Tennant has a son that's old enough to act.
Yeah,
damn.
David Tennant is also married to the daughter of another doctor, of the fifth Doctor or something. Yeah. But she plays the Doctor's daughter in a show too, and that's where they met. So
shit.
There's incest in that show as well.
Well, we need to get Christopher Eccleston in on House of the Dragon and just make this a complete party.
He's too good. He's wasted in almost everything.
Yes.
He's just too good.
No, in The Leftovers on HBO, he's fucking fantastic.
Yeah. I wish he'd come back to Doctor Who because he was my favorite.
Yeah.
But we have Aegon. He doesn't want to be king. He wants to go to watch children fight pits, get drunk, rape servants.
He's just doing what I guess young princes do.
Yeah, some young princes are like shitheads and don't know how to handle power and responsibility, and he isn't someone we like.
And it's a good dynamic with him being a total and complete shithead, and Aemond being
who should rule.
Yeah, like Daemon 2.0.
Aemond One Eye. Aemond gets his eye cut out by his cousin Luke or Jace, one of the strong bastards from Rhaenyra.
It was Jace. Jace is the younger one, right?
I think it's maybe the younger one, the middle.
No,
one.
You're right. It's the one with the L.
Lucerys.
Luke. Yeah, because Jace is the older one. Because Jace is the older one.
But when Daemon's future wife dies because she Dracarys herself, because she was going to die from childbirth. One of the oldest, largest dragons in the show is up for grabs. And the way it works with dragons, you just get them if you're good. Like, you're lucky. You have to be in the right place at the right time. But you're not, like dictated, like, this is your dragon. You're given a dragon egg at birth, and hopefully you bond with it, and that usually helps. But otherwise, if there's a dragon around and you have Targaryen blood, you might get it, that might kill you.
Yeah, who knows?
And this kid... And one of the reasons, all right, I'm on Team Aemond at least a little bit.
Yeah.
This kid goes up and he just goes to the biggest dragon in Westeros and he rides it. Big Aemond energy.
Big A energy.
Yeah, big A energy there. But he loses an eye.
Which only makes him more badass because now he's got an eye patch.
He doesn't have depth perception.
But he's got a cool sapphire eye.
He'll never play Resident Evil 7 in VR.
And that's a bummer.
And that's a bummer.
I mean, that sucks for you, dog.
Yeah.
No, he quickly became towards the end of the season run, he quickly became one of my favorite characters because he is just so completely and utterly badass.
Ewan Mitchell plays him. Aemond is a shit starter.
Yes, he likes to stir the pot.
He makes moves, he stirs the pot, and he's very much Daemon. Daemon believes he should be king, but he also is loyal to his brother and would never harm his own family. He would never physically hurt Viserys. Was like, I am loyal to a fault. I will also, he says, only I can talk shit about my brother. Yeah. When someone else tries to do it, he's like, don't do that. You don't get to talk shit about my brother.
That scene is at the dinner scene where Viserys has the gold mask on and they all pretend to get along. That moment that Daemon and Aemond share where he calls Rhaenyra's kids strong or something like that.
Such strong boys.
Yeah. And
what a good insult.
Daemon just kind of looks at him like, I got my fucking eye on you.
He's also like,
props.
He's like, I see what's up.
Yeah. But
I admire you, but you were on the wrong side of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. They stand toe to toe. And
so
Aemon's intimidated, but he also doesn't back down.
And also that's the kind of reaction I think he's that he wants to evoke. Yeah. I think he wants to be noticed in that way by Daemon or by somebody higher up the ladder. But here's what I want as somebody who doesn't know what's about to happen.
Okay.
And I'm going to just speak Game of Thrones for a second. What I wanted in Game of Thrones, and it didn't happen, and it keeps me up at night sometimes, is I did not get Jon Snow versus the Night King. How are you going to have the episode Hard Home and not have those two fuckers fight? That pisses me off.
I mean, there's a lot of problems with that last season.
In that show.
All right, let's send out the Dothraki first to go up against the zombie warriors out in the dark. You just wait. They're coming for you.
Yeah.
Fortify. Don't give them a whole set of Dothraki screamers to turn to zombies immediately.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm getting upset.
Yeah, we could get off on a million tangents, but that's what I wanted the most out of season 1, especially after the episode Hard Home, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I do like that
This in House of the Dragon,
yeah.
I want an Aemon Daemon battle. Because it's got to happen eventually. If that's any foreshadowing and they stay on the same sides that they're on, they're going to come to blows.
You know nothing.
I know. I probably am wrong, but right now,
dude,
that's what I want.
When I was reading this back way before the show, I was like, this would make the best show ever. Because there are so many moments that my mouth was on the floor. It's like, this is the craziest shit I've ever seen. Or the coolest concept. The dragon seeds. You're going to lose it. You're going to fucking lose it.
The dragon seeds?
I won't say anything else.
Oh, wow.
But very exciting. Aemond does get himself into some hot water. He is intending to intimidate Luke when they go to... But they both... This is after the war is kind of starting, but they both go to Storm's End to talk to the Baratheons.
They're in a little bit of a Cold War phase at this point.
And Aemond was just trying to scare Luke. And I like the way they portray the dragons because he... I'm not going to remember the dragons' names, though. Vermax?
Yeah.
Maybe. Luke's dragon shoots some fire at Aemond's dragon. And Aemond's dragon is just like, no, fuck you. Aemond says, don't do it. And he's like, nah, he just eats the dragon, so Luke's dead.
I do like that Aemond is trying to, like, call his dragon back and regain control.
Yeah.
Because you realize, like, all right, they're not in total control.
Nope.
Of these dragons. Like, the dragons definitely have a will of their own. And that's something that I feel like watching Game of Thrones and talking about dragon riders, and especially the way that, like, Jon and Daenerys will interact with the dragons in Game of Thrones, it seems like they can just control them. And it's refreshing to see that they have, like, a mind of their own.
They don't in Game of Thrones, but they also don't make a good enough plot point out of it. Because Daenerys loses her dragons in Meereen for a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that weird plot point.
Well, she locks two of them up, and then Drogon just fucks off. I hate that.
And then you have the lady with the fucking bedazzled mask that I never knew what the fuck she was doing.
Quaithe, whatever.
So she must be something in the book.
I hope so, because if she wasn't in the show.
Oh.
Yep, and then we have the Strongs. They're not Strongs. They're they call them Valerians in the book to help you distinguish them better, but they're Targaryen. Well, I mean, they would because they're the descendants of the Valerians and Rhaenyra, but they keep the Targaryen name in this. So it is Luke and Jacaerys and Joffrey, because one of the great moments of the show is Rhaenyra's wedding to Laenor, Valerian, and Laenor's boyfriend, forget his name, just goes up and talks shit to Kristen about what happened, and Kristen loses his fucking mind. And this is one of my first major complaints on the show. Kristen Cole, after killing a knight in cold blood in the middle of a wedding, would not be walking around after that.
That is true.
That would not happen.
At a royal wedding, there'd be so many Kingsguard, they would swarm him.
And he would be guilty. What would he say? He said negative things about the queen or something. It's like, that's not acceptable. Yeah. But that's Alicent takes care of him and whatever. But
yeah, because he was going to go like seppuku himself outside, wasn't he?
He was. Alicent saves him, and then she finds out from him that Rhaenyra lied to her about her infidelity. But Kristen, in the books, it happens at a tournament, and it's a little bit more like it might have just happened because they were supposed to be like fighting in the tournament, and it just went too far. This was at a wedding. It is a good scene. It is great. I just wish there was repercussions other than nothing happened to him.
Yeah, because everybody just kind of stands around bewildered, and he just leaves.
Another of my favorite moments, the crab feeder.
Oh my god,
they do great with that. Just setting up a villain, like something's happening in the Stepstones. They don't go out of the way to say Volantis and Lys are these cities, the Triumvirate. They say a few sentences enough to just let you know someone else is trying to control this passage for trade, and it's been a long war. And then what they do is just show like crabs swarming bodies that are tied. And they show a dude in a mask who's clearly like suffering from like grayscale or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's all I need.
Yep. Sign me up.
I'm a crab feeder guy now.
That was such a... I didn't know if he was going to turn into a big... Because, like, I had no idea the scope of the season. I didn't know we were going to have so many time jumps because I did no reading going into it. So they start setting up the crab feeder. And the first time, they, like, barely show him.
Yeah.
The second time, they show him a little bit more, but they barely show him. And I was like, okay, is this going to be, like, Daemon's whole, like, he goes to war for a season? And he's... Nope. He's still badass, though.
Oh, my God. Because he gets a message saying, Viserys is sending help to end this conflict for you. And Daemon's like, I'm not sharing the victory.
Yeah, doesn't he beat the shit out of the messenger?
Beats the shit out of the messenger.
Which is like, you don't hurt the messenger, but...
And he goes by himself to lure the crab feeder out. And not only that, then he goes in and charges into the cave after he lures them out.
He Leroy Jenkins it.
He just... Hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big Leroy energy.
And... correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the director from the Battle of the Bastards episode did a lot of work on this first season, and it definitely shows.
Miguel Sapochnik, I want to say is his name.
I think that sounds right.
Yeah. He gets his own Wikipedia page. So that's a good sign for him.
Yes. Way to go.
Yes. He directed 2 episodes of Game of Thrones' 5th seasons, Hard Home and The Gift. He directed the Battle of the Bastards and The Winds of Winter.
Hard Home and Battle of the Bastards are my 2 favorite episodes of Game of Thrones.
I like the Battle at the Wall.
Ooh, that's a good one, too.
I was able to see that on an IMAX screen. They played it on an IMAX to get ready for the next season. And on that IMAX screen, it was amazing. The scope was crazy. Yeah.
And that, oh man, that would have been good.
He's an executive producer. They recognized that Miguel was someone you want around.
He's got an eye for battle sequences.
Yeah. He knows how to block a scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that was the crab feeder battle and that Daemon thing. I was like, I can't get more excited about you, Daemon. Like, you are Pedro Pascal status right now for me.
Yeah, my God.
That's how much I love your character.
That's so true.
Yeah. Yeah, what are some other big things? What are some of your favorite stuff from the season?
By and far, my favorite moments of the season were Aemond realizing he fucked up when he kills Luke.
I like that look on his face.
The standoff between him and Daemon was probably up there.
Yeah.
Otto Hightower's performance all the way through the season, being a scheming little fuck, is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that...
It's like Walter White. Like, you can't keep getting away with this.
Yeah. His whole... sending his daughter to go comfort the king because he knows it's going to lead to something else.
He knows what's going on.
Yeah. That's what I liked most about Game of Thrones is the politicking. Like, the battle sequences are awesome. It's like the cherry on top. But where Game of Thrones really shined was like the alliances and not knowing if this person's telling the truth and who they're making deals with, and seeing a little bit of that in Otto.
The interplay of characters that you like and understand that are on opposite ends. Just seeing how Catelyn and Tyrion interact, and you're with both of them, and they hate each other. And there's like, you have your own conflict on like, Catelyn's right, she should have ducked Tyrion, but I like Tyrion, he didn't do anything wrong, and it's good writing.
Yeah, like all the characters feel so real. Like, motivation seems genuine. It seems like this is an actual person who has wants and desires, and they are pursuing them. And people make mistakes in the show, which is refreshing. You watch a lot of movies, you watch a lot of TV, and you'll have your hero character, the one that you're telling the perspective of the story from. Mm-hmm. And they do no wrong. They just run through the story and they make the correct choices at the correct beats, and your mind gets a little numb to it. And then having a show like this where all the characters feel so human because you're watching their successes and their failures, you're seeing what's going on between the different relationships behind closed doors, the way they're talking to certain people, just makes the whole world feel more lived in. Mm-hmm. And it creates such a unique viewing experience because you feel like all these characters are actually real. Mm-hmm. And Game of Thrones is on a whole nother level when it comes to writing character stories. If you would have told me in Game of Thrones episode 1, season 1, that Jaime Lannister would be one of my favorite characters.
I love that. I love the turn.
The moment his hand comes off, it is just it's a benchmark moment for the character.
The very first time he has done something good and moral and that you've seen, he steps up for Brienne to save her honor.
Oh my God.
He gets punished immediately. No good deed goes unpunished.
Yes.
And he immediately gets horribly mutilated for sticking his neck out a tiny bit one time in a good way. And it costs a lot to be a good person.
Yeah.
And it's easier to do the wrong thing. And that's really refreshing. But they did my boy dirty in the end of Game of Thrones, where he just just all of his character development was thrown out the window, and he just goes back to Cersei. That was just upsetting. And he finds her in a pile of rubble or whatever, like in
the basement. Yeah, come on.
I was upset.
And also, like, if you're going to have... Why the fuck did Arya just not put on Jaime's face and kill Cersei, and then you have Jon Snow fight the Night King, and then it's all fine? He has Longclaw, it's Valyrian steel, it'll still work, but they gotta use the dagger.
The way that they show the House of Black and White and the face magic is not great in the show.
Does the person need to be dead for you to use their face?
I believe you have to have the face skinned off, because that's why they have, like, the Hall of Faces.
So Arya would have killed Walder Frey and then done the whole
probably
thing.
But I think it's more like akin to some light magic and like illusion. There's just a little bit of extra, like, as long as she knows how to act and talk right, she can kind of blend in. But to just go full other characters, it's got a horrible Mission Impossible quality to it.
Yeah, because Walder Frey is definitely taller than Arya, right?
Yeah, and Jaime is not the same.
Yeah, I guess that wouldn't have worked. But
there's a million other things she could have done.
Yeah.
Yeah. House of the Dragon. Great. The dragons look unique, which I do appreciate. Drogon, Viserion, and the other one. Viserion, Drogon, and her son, Rhaegon. They looked very similar to each other, where they're just like, this is an ugly big dragon.
Yeah.
This one is an odd, like, goiter having, more amphibian looking dragon. They all have very unique looks to them. And I did love the portrayal. If I was a more hardcore fan, I would be able to say, oh, that's Caraxes. That was ridden famously by so-and-so. Because those dragons, some of them were around since Aegon the Conqueror's time, which is cool. Because dragons, they don't get smaller. They just keep growing. If they have the space to grow, they'll just keep growing. And there's, like, old age. It's extremely rare to die, for a dragon to die of old age, because something else will happen before then. But
that would explain why Aemon's dragon is one of, what did they say, the first?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of the first ones that came to Westeros.
And that's a big boy or girl. I don't know.
Genderless, gender fluid dragons. If they need to be female for, like, purposes, like, they can kind of alter their roles a little bit.
Really? Is that canon?
Kind of like Matthew Broderick's Godzilla. Yeah, I think that they can kind of have hermaphroditic qualities and just kind of be what they need to be. They don't explain it too much, but that is what you're led to believe in the books. Super excited. Super excited for the next season.
Do you think they will ever move forward with a show about old Valyria?
I hope not.
Why do you hope not?
I wouldn't want to see it.
The mystery is better than the...
Valyria is... We don't know the doom of Valyria. We don't know what happened to destroy it. We don't know why all of the dragon riders were killed. We don't know about the apocalypse. And it is better to not know. I prefer having the mystery rather than a neatly wrapped, this person was bad and God got mad. Which is probably what it boiled down to. They dug too deep. They found something underground.
They did not know what they were doing.
But if you pick up the World of Ice and Fire book, which is very similar to this one, one of the greatest chapters, he just goes continent to continent, like Sithorios, like this land has giant fucking apes, and they have wyverns, and they have such diseases you can't go more than 30 feet into the trees. I'm like, cool.
Yeah, I'm on board.
I'm on board. And they get like Essos. They go to Ashai. Ashai is this place where just like the darkest, most forbidden magic, the weirdest people you'll ever go. It's almost impossible to get to. Corlys just goes there. He's like, I'm going to go. I'm going to get some shit over there. But yeah, I already just... And then I guess the only other controversial decision I would say is Rhaenys Targaryen gets her dragon in the dragon pit and faces down King Aegon and Alicent and the kids, and I believe Otto might even be there. She's facing down all of them.
All the problems in the realm.
One Dracarys. Whoosh, the war doesn't happen. And that was not good.
That was the only part of the show that I did not like. And I wouldn't say visibly upset, but I voiced my frustration with that episode the moment it ended, because we have a viewing party at my house with my roommate and my brother and his girlfriend. And after every single episode, I would stand up, close my laptop, and unplug the HDMI and go, that was a good fucking episode every time. And then that episode happened. I unplugged my laptop.
You mean
and
you turned off HBO Max?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, no, I have an account.
Oh, okay.
I'm a proud... Yeah, no. I've had one for years. Yeah. HBO has all my money all the time.
Okay.
But I unplugged it after that episode and said, that was not very dope.
Well...
Not a fan of... That seemed very convenient.
She could have done it. And the what I find even more frustrating is that the show creator, I think that Ryan Kandel or whatever his name is, he was saying, well, we thought it might be controversial, but she's a mother. And she sees there's another mother and with her kids, and she didn't want to do it.
I heard that.
And I'm like, no, you don't got me. She's also letting 1 million children and their mothers die by not ending a war.
Yeah, and she even says in the next episode or something, she's like, it wasn't my fight to finish or something.
Which is much better. Which, like, I can see the rationalization of, it's not my... If you're going to start a war, I'm not doing it for you. You need to make the decision. I don't agree, but I can kind of get that. The whole, like, she's a mother. Like, nah.
I just didn't like the big set piece of her. She also explodes up through the floor and kills how many people? And then she's concerned about the mother up there who also held her captive until she pledged allegiance. Like, come on.
Dude, the Dragon Pit in like season 3 or 4. Look out, dude.
Dude, I am so psyched for this show to keep going.
Yeah.
The only problem is we probably won't get a season until next year.
It'll be a while. I also didn't like that they reused the same theme song.
They should have came up with another banger.
But also, it is making people like Game of Thrones again. And same reason that they use Aegon as a name so many times. It's like, we're using the same theme again, so you feel better about Game of Thrones. Yep.
Also, don't let them trick you. Don't like Game of Thrones again. They hurt you. It's like an abusive ex. You don't have to go back to that show.
I have loved it. Rewatching it, we're almost at the end of season 5. There are definitely the holes still, but
season 6 is when Cersei blows up the Sept of Baelor, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
And you have that awesome scene with like the
song,
the guy crawling. Yeah,
fantastic.
You've said you don't like season 6. Or you feel like it's starting to deviate from the books too much?
They do characters dirty. And
which characters do you think they did dirty? Because season 6, in my opinion, was
Sansa,
fantastic.
Sansa, Arya, Littlefinger, Bran, Jojen, Mira, Jaime has been done dirty.
Yeah, Jaime was starting to get done dirty.
Lady Stoneheart,
it doesn't exist.
Correct.
The guy
Melisandre, Stannis Baratheon.
Stannis got done so dirty. Oh my god.
Brienne of Tarth.
Damn.
I mean, even if you go back to like Robb Stark in season 2, I don't want to watch most of it because none of that happens in the books. And just having Robb have like a really like bad romance thing happening.
You didn't like the rom-com in the middle of season 2? Oh, we could have been watching epic battles.
How am I supposed to plan a war when your butt's out? I'm like, great, good job, Robb.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fucking knocked it out the park, dog.
Nailed it. Yeah. I'm from Volantis. He bangs Lannister Bannerman doctor lady in the books, and said they just make her this traveling doctor from Valentis. And it's like, no, she's a Westerling. And I don't know. Bran's character was just not handled well. The Children of the Forest just throwing little like grenades.
Yeah.
So dumb. The Brynden Rivers, the three-eyed raven,
it was a mess.
a horrible mess. In the books, the tree has grown through him, like out of his eye. He is part of a tree. And instead they just like, I'm an old man hiding behind these roots. It's horrible. Like, he's from the Seventh Seal. Remember him? Ingmar Bergman. Whatever that actor is, whatever the fucking actor's name is. From that Bergman film. But
so I've never read the books, and you just listed off 85% of the cast that they did dirty. And I really liked season 6. I do feel like the Three-Eyed Raven shit got a little discombobulated towards the end.
Euron Greyjoy and all of the Greyjoys being mishandled so tremendously is absolutely heartbreaking.
Even Reek?
Theon's story in the books is way better, and not in a bad way.
Is Ramsay Bolton still a badass in the books? Like a badass villain?
He's less charismatic in the books. He's more of just a vile, disgusting person. Instead of Ramsay knows how to turn on charm a little bit in the show. And in the books, he's gross. He's a lot more gross.
He was such a good villain for the show.
Well, and then they do stupid things like Yara Greyjoy, who they changed to Asha in the show.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm taking my best men, and we're going to go save Theon. They sail around the continent, around Dorne, all the way around to go up the other end.
It'd be like going from New York, going around South America to get to LA.
That's dumb. And she gets there, she goes in, runs into Ramsay once, not wearing armor, bare shirt with 2 knives. She's like, we're done, we're leaving. And I was like, you just went around the continent and you got scared by one dude with a shirt off.
You didn't see, though, there was the skull next to his health bar above his head. It had
a yellow health bar, so there's like at least 2 health bars there.
Yeah, she was like, shit, I'm not leveled up enough. Time to turn around and do some side quests.
And it's like, they clearly didn't know where they were going. They set up as potentially she's going to have somewhat of a story, and they don't do anything with it. Something I really did like in season 6 was Cersei and the religious people,
the Sparrow,
the High Sparrow.
Yeah,
and, that was done very well, I thought.
That old dude that plays the High Sparrow, is a fucking G.
Yeah,
I've seen him in a couple movies. I don't know his name, but he always is so good.
He's very good, and the Hound, I think, was handled well in season 6, like that Ian McShane, where he's like, we've given up on war here, we're brothers. And that was great. But when they have the Hound have a boss battle with the Mountain, Dr. Frankenstein.
You didn't like the Clegane Bowl?
Clegane Bowl is a fine concept. And I think it is something that is built up and teased at. But the way that it is delivered was so bad.
How they just, like, in the distance fall off the tower, like,
It's like, no. That's just so not who the Hound was. I don't know. It's like we taking up 5 seasons of character development and just like, goodbye, we don't need it. We're going to do this instead.
You know what would have been cool for the Hound and Gregor in that fight? You remember in season 1 when Gregor goes to, like, swipe at the Hound and Robert is like, you fucking kneel. And then the Hound just kneels immediately and Gregor barely misses him with that huge swipe.
Yeah.
It would have been cool to, like, call back to that. Have that be the killing blow. Mm-hmm. Like, the tables are reversed. Like, that would have been a nice bookend for the Cleganes.
That would have been nice. They didn't do it.
That would have been really... That's how I always thought it was going to go. And then when I got what I got, I was like, meh.
I thought the first Mountain in season 1 was the best.
You didn't like the World's Strongest Man?
Half-Thor Bjornsson. What a name. He is half Thor. What a name. And he's big. He's got the size. But what he doesn't have is that unbridled anger that the first guy did. Just like yell sword. You can just tell the guy has got... And what's up with the Mountain is he has such insane headaches all the time that he has to constantly drink milk with a poppy. So he's essentially like drinking morphine like all the time to deal with his intense.
I did not know that.
He has so much like pain that he has to deal with all the time that he's just always angry. Something's wrong with his head. And that's why he is just can't handle himself. And the season 1 guy, you can just tell he's just like constantly on the brink. And Hafthor Bjornsson is just like, he looks too friendly because he is a nice guy. And don't forget season 2 at A Different Mountain as well, who was just the tallest, skinniest person in the world.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Yeah. Some characters from House of the Dragon will have some very cool stories coming forward. I'm excited for next season to see more of the Lannisters. We're going to see some Starks. We're going to hopefully we'll see some Aarons from the Eyrie.
The Moon Door.
From the Moon Door. Make him fly.
You really piqued my interest with saying that there was one scene where you saw a background character and you were like, oh, that's the person.
Oh, and it's just a throwaway shot too.
I am so curious. Ever since you said that, I've been like trying to recall scenes in my brain. Is it the wedding scene?
Well, there's an interesting thing that goes on now. There are a finite number of dragons. There's a certain number of dragons. Rhaenyra has more dragons.
Yep.
But like if you have Targaryen blood, you could potentially ride a dragon if you can get a dragon. Like one of the twins, the girl twins of the Valerians, Daemon's girls, one of them doesn't have a dragon yet. And eventually it's like, we need to make sure, I won't say anymore, but
could you feasibly ride a dragon if you had a bottle of Targaryen blood attached to your belt?
That's the kind of thing that'll get you killed.
By a dragon?
Yeah. There's a great story about, there's one knight who believed that he like walked forward with a giant mirror. He's like, the dragon won't see me. And he died. Great thought. Like, maybe they won't see you. You'll get close enough. Something will happen. No, you died. Yeah. But my love for George R. R. Martin has been rekindled from House of the Dragon. I am still obsessed with his world building. Elden Ring is pretty good.
You're only a little bit of a fan.
A little bit of a fan. And if you like this show, if you like his writing, I always like to just highly recommend reading the book Fever Dream. It is George R. R. Martin's gothic horror set in like the swamps of New Orleans. And it's about riverboats and vampires. And it is fucking gothic. And it is so good.
Why do riverboats and vampires go so well together?
That culture of like New Orleans voodoo and like just casinos on the like, it's just like a riverboat, man. Something about it is so cool.
Yeah, something about it's so evil.
And it is a fantastic book. Very good read. And that's George R. R. Martin. He has written a lot of other books. Some of them are great. Some of his early stuff, skip Armageddon Rag. I didn't like it that much, but
before we call this a day on the cast, I want to get your thoughts. How do you feel about the Jon Snow alleged spinoff at HBO?
It's been canceled, is my understanding. I don't want it. I don't want it. I listened to Kit Harington talk about it.
I doubt he wants to play the character again.
He wants money. Anyone who wants money will do anything for money.
That's true.
He was shown a number, and he's like, I'm so excited about this show. He was a heavy alcoholic for a while after the show. He had problems because he didn't like who he was at the end of filming. But he described John's got his own journey, like north of the wall, and he still has a lot of pain and things to work through. He killed the only woman he's ever loved. He's not the Lord Commander anymore. He's just going to be a member of the Night's Watch. And I'm like, okay, that sounds like a nice movie. Do an El Camino hour-and-a-half movie.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
I'm like, maybe. I still don't want it. But like, if you're going to do it, do a movie. And mostly I don't want to see those characters anymore. George R. R. Martin has a fucking just stacks of history books. Like, do anything.
I think if they're going to keep making Game of Thrones content outside of these two shows, they need to stay before Game of Thrones. They need to stay in the past, because having people give a shit about the show when you ruined it, you're going to put that that giant 7-season commitment right in the middle of your storytelling, and then people are going to rediscover it and be like, oh, that sucked.
Somehow Palpatine has returned.
Yes.
We have Bran the Broken, who can see the future and the past. Which, fine, cool concept, not used. He never uses it.
No.
And now he's the king, and they didn't do any legwork for it.
And he didn't even warg into a dragon, and that would have been awesome.
There's so many things they could have done.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for more House of the Dragon. I'm excited for potentially more spinoffs earlier, but I don't have much else to say. I guess we should rank it on our list of TV show rankings, I think The Boys is above Stranger Things is where we are so far.
Yeah. Shit. That's tough. I think just off the gut, I got to go above The Boys on this one.
House of the Dragon is above all the other shows so far.
Yeah.
Until we talk about True Detective or Breaking Bad, it is going to be hard to break that.
How do you feel? Oh, well, that's a different podcast.
What was the question?
How do you feel about season 2 of True Detective?
Okay. It's another podcast.
Yeah.
It's not as good as the first.
Well, we can agree on that.
It is harshly judged against the first.
We also agree on that.
It's tough when you take 5 years to write a perfect show, and then you need to write season 2 in 6 months.
HBO goes, yeah, now do it again.
There are some great scenes. Colin Farrell, when he's trying to hype himself up, like he's drinking, he's like, we're going to do this, and he starts doing cocaine, and then it just cuts. I'm like, okay. And then it just cuts to him like crying and breaking down. I was like,
yeah.
I mean, that's a good scene. And
the orgy scene.
Rachel McAdams on a bunch of ecstasy, killing her way out of an orgy.
Yeah.
I was like, that's some intense shit.
It was a great, definitely judged 2 hours. Maybe we should do a Popcorn Dogs about True Detective.
I'd have to watch.
I'd have to watch all 3 of them.
I don't need to watch season 1 again because I've seen that 3 times and enough to where it's like, I love it and I get it. I'd watch it again for fun, but I'd have to watch season 2 to have a perspective on it again because I was too much looking for season 1, and that it was not.
Season 4 is going to be directed by Jodie Foster.
Fine. I don't count my chickens anymore. Well, let them hatch, and I'll look at them and I'll say I don't want chicken today. Well, maybe I do want chicken. House of the Dragon was a great surprise. So House of the Dragon, The Boys, Stranger Things is our current TV show ranking, going alongside our movie rankings. But thank you for tuning into Popcorn Dogs. We love you. You guys are great, and never change yourself. Don't commit incest.
Yep.
And just don't kill your family. God, that's pretty broad, but don't.
Yeah. I mean, pretty easy rules to follow. You should be fine.
We're part of the Tokyo Beat Podcast Network. Maybe. I mean, okay. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.